Bill Mackey is president of the Northeast Higher Education District, or NEHED, a consortium of Hibbing Community College, Itasca Community College, Mesabi Range College, Rainy River Community College, and Vermilion Community College. He has held this position since July 1st, 2015. Before coming to NEHED, President Mackey served as Vice President of Finance Administration at Bemidji State University and Northwest Technical College since 2004. Previously, he served at NEHED as the Chief Financial and Facilities Officer from 2003 to 2004, and at Itasca Community College as Dean of Students and Administrative Services, Director of Finance and Facilities from 1997 to 2000, and Business Manager, Business Officer, 95 to 97. He holds an associate degree from Vermilion Community College in Ely and a bachelor's degree and a master's from the University of Minnesota Duluth. Bill has devoted his career to advancing public higher education in northern Minnesota. He is described as a gifted leader who understands rural campuses and who aims to ensure the economic vitality of NEHED's 5 colleges and deepen their partnerships with the communities they serve. Provost Carol Helland has been employed in higher education since 1991. During this time, she has served as an English instructor at Mesabi Range College, moving into administration in 2004 as Chief Academic Officer and Interim Provost in 2013. In June 2014, she was appointed Provost at Mesabi Range College, and in July, Dr. Sue Collins appointed her Provost at Rainy River Community College. Provost Helland has extensive experience with academic and strategic planning, institutional assessment, and accreditation. She is well-versed in technical programs and liberal arts curriculum, working closely with faculty in the design and implementation of new programs and supporting our current ones. In addition, she has experience collaborating with regional high schools in concurrent enrollment and the Applied Learning Institute, and collaborating with Minnesota State University, Mankato, in the Iron Range Engineering Program. She said she immediately felt welcomed by the International Falls community and looks forward to providing input for the Voyage Forward initiative. She resides in Aurora, spending 2 days per week here in the Falls. Please help me welcome these educational leaders.
Thank you, Dr. Perkins. Thank you to the Rotary Club, and thank you to the Chamber for inviting us to this meeting. It's an honor to be here. Unfortunately, I don't have everything figured out almost 4 months into the job, so I'm still working on some things. As Dr. Perkins was reading our backgrounds, the one thing that I'm most proud of and that resonates with me every day is that I grew up 4 blocks from Vermilion Community College in Ely. I'm a graduate of there. My father spent his career working in the community college system, and I like to say it's really in my blood, and I really believe strongly in 2-year education, and most importantly to me, the obligation that our colleges have to each of our communities. That it's critical and that we play a central role in so many different ways, and hopefully my leadership style will reflect that as I get to know all of you better and Rainy River better. I'm going to spend the first part of the presentation talking about more at a regional level and a little bit about the district before turning it over to Provost Helland to talk specifically about some things that are going on at Rainy River Community College. So here's some of the topics we're going to talk about are what's going on regional-wide, the landscape of higher education. Just want to give you I am a finance guy most of my career, so unfortunately I couldn't go cold turkey on the numbers, so there's a few numbers in here. And then talk a little bit about what Rainy River's doing and the commitment that both the Northeast Higher Ed District and Rainy River Community College has to the planning that's currently happening in Koochiching County, Voyage Forward. So I wanted to start by just refreshing everybody what NEHED is, what the Northeast Higher Education District is. It's becoming less and less of a swear word over time, so that's good. But it was formed in October of 1999, and the way it happened was Joe Surdich was the president of Itasca Community College at the time, and President John Harris retired from Vermilion and Mesabi Range Community and Technical College, which I think was called the Laurentian District at the time. And those three colleges were the initial three colleges that were in the Northeast Higher Education District. When Alan Rasmussen retired, then Rainy River joined the district. And then in 2004, when Hibbing had a transition in presidents, Hibbing became part of the district. So the district's been around for 16 years in some format, and all 5 of the colleges have been together in the district for about 11 or 12 years. There's been 3 presidents since its inception. I mentioned Joe Surdich. His successor is someone you all know very well, Dr. Sue Collins, who was president from 2008 to 2015. And then I'm now the 3rd president of this Northeast Higher Education District. And the mission at the time it was formed was it was organized to provide quality higher education to our communities, create a regional structure, but yet preserve autonomy. And that's always a delicate dance. And over time, as I talk more, I'll explain of how that's transformed since 1999. And some of it's out of necessity, and some of it's out of just trying to provide stronger value to our region and to our communities. We've had a lot of new educational training models and institutional student services. Some of the things that we've been sharing for a long time across our region are things that colleges and universities are just thinking about now. For example, our human resources, our payroll have been shared since the 80s. TRIO, Student Support Services Grant, we've been approaching that on a region-wide basis since the 80s as well, the grant that Leanne's been a part of for a long time. Those are things we've been doing as a region even before the district was formed, and are very much things that we've had strength in numbers. Now we're moving into a realm of sharing more academic programs, and that's where we've had some success stories, and we've had other areas where we need to improve on. But it's definitely where the future lies us at doing more. And Rainy River has some shining stars in this area, a faculty that really have done an exceptional job of bringing their quality and their expertise to other colleges. Joe Klebachek, who's in the audience, became integrated at Itasca Community College when their history instructor retired, and he teaches many of the history courses at Itasca Community College and uses telepresence, uses technology, but also spends a lot of time going down there to directly interact with the students and then beaming it back up to International Falls. Tom West is another example. This year he's teaching accounting at I think at least 3 of our colleges. And we don't necessarily have the numbers to do that 3 separate times anymore. In 1999, when the district was formed, we could get by with that. We can't in 2015, and that will likely become more of the pattern going forward. Now, there's always areas that we need to improve on those areas, and the one thing that we always have to keep in mind that we still need to do a better job in is that it's all about the students and making sure they're successful. So we need to try to peel back the red tape, make sure there's not bureaucracy, and we're not quite there yet in some of the areas, but we're working on it, and as we get further into this, we'll do a better job. And there's other arrangements. The nursing program, which Carol will talk about, is being delivered by Itasca. Mesabi Range has engineering brought to their college in Virginia from Itasca. So there's just a lot of this cross-college collaboration that's happening. One of the regional entities or institutes that was created right after the district was formed that has proved to be pretty successful, and it's going on almost a decade in place, is the Applied Learning Institute. And the Applied Learning Institute, you'll see on the map, if you probably can't read it, but there's 22 different Northeast Minnesota high schools that are a part of this. And the focus is more on technical education. So 6 program areas. We have 1,200 students approximately that are involved with industrial technology, construction trades, pre-engineering, transportation, healthcare, and technical math. And I believe Carol was mentioning to me before the meeting that she was involved in her previous position of working with the school district and bringing welding, or helping assisting welding coming up here. And since that, International Falls School District, if I did my numbers correctly, there's been about $400,000 invested in equipment and program development because of the Applied Learning Institute. The state has invested about $8.5 million in this institute over that time period. And it really is something that's unique to our part of the state. And the partners, the IRRB was helpful in getting it going, RAMS was helpful in getting it going, and we were fortunate to have the chair of the Higher Ed Committee, Representative Ruckavina in our region at the time, that also fenced off that funding so that we know we get $900,000 a year as a region for that activity. I want to segue a little bit, and Carol's going to talk more about Voyage Forward and economic development. But as I read the report and had the opportunity to listen to the presentation from Newmark, Grubb, Knight, and Frank, I had to write that down because I would have never remembered it. It really struck me that there was two areas, or two topics, that they were really challenging the college to become a bigger player in the community. And one was with workforce development, and one was with economic development. And the college is a significant part of the community in many different ways. In 2013, we had an economic study done of all of our colleges in the region, and this wasn't specific to International Falls, but to give an example, for every $100, you could associate about $1.40 related to the college. So the college does play a role in that as providing economic impact, but also as being a player. So I want to talk about Advance Minnesota, our customized training unit, which is mentioned in that report, as an area that I think we need to do a better job of having more presence in Koochiching County and helping move towards those destiny drivers that are currently being established. So Advance Minnesota is a customized training entity. It was formed, it's in its 4th year. Trent Janisich is the executive director of it. And just a couple stats on that. We trained 15,000 different people across the course of a year with about 200,000 hours of training. It's about a $2.5 million enterprise, and we have about 12 employees. And this is just an example of some of the training that's been done in the International Falls area since it was formed. Even some of it goes before the lean training at Rainy Lake Medical Center. I believe that was done by Itasca, Gail Anderson at the time. Why this entity was formed was, I believe President Collins was asked by the regional employers, will you guys get your act together? We do not want somebody coming in from Mesabi Range to one of the mines selling their training, and then a week later somebody from Hibbing coming and selling the same training. Will you get organized and act as one entity? And as with anything, the road to get there has some ups and downs to it, but last year was probably the best year that we had, in that our numbers were strong. And we've gotten to a point where we're starting to develop more of a team atmosphere within Advance Minnesota and get some wins, and we're financially stable. We don't have any state money going towards that operation anymore. It's all revenue driven through training revenue or grants or other things. It's a self-supporting entity. And that becomes important because the colleges don't have as much money as they had in the past to subsidize activities like that. And they did. Previous to Advance Minnesota, there was probably $250,000 to $300,000 at least across the district that subsidized that training. Now there's nothing. So there's a big improvement in that area. One of the more recent successes, and I just had a chance to meet Julie Schumacher today, and she was involved in this, was creating a Minnesota Job Skills Partnership Grant, and we anticipate a grant to be awarded on November 2nd, where it's a partnership with Boise, where 120 people will be trained for 1,720 hours of training. And this is something that was also mentioned in the consultant's report, is that we should be more aggressive in going after Minnesota Job Skills Partnership training. There's all kinds of different grants at different stages of what businesses need for their employees. And Advance Minnesota could be the tool that helps facilitate that and feed into the countywide planning that's happening. So this is a success, and I think maybe the first one that's happened since Advance Minnesota has been structured, but hopefully the first of many to come. A new opportunity I just wanted to plug for a minute is we have also received money from the IRRRB to help subsidize Lean and Six Sigma training. So if there's any interest in that, it's probably hard to read, but see me afterwards, or the Advance Minnesota Executive Director would love to talk to any businesses interested in that, and this grant would pay for 60% of the training, so it's one of their new initiatives that they're looking at. So Advance Minnesota is something that happened later on in the district, and it's something that there's work to do. Some of it's internal, some of it's external, but I think it's definitely the direction we have to head, where we're pooling resources, pooling talent, and pooling expertise. I'm going to shift gears now and talk a little bit about macro level planning, both that's happening in higher ed and that affects the district and ultimately affects Rainy River Community College, is that we really are in this period of higher education where we're seeing a lot of different types of pressure, and it's coming from many different directions. And the first three bullets talk about affordability, enrollment, and state investment levels, and I'll touch upon those in more detail. One of the fourth and fifth ones on there, one of them is capital investment requirements, is that we need to make sure we keep investing in our facilities. And we did a wonderful job this summer getting a state-of-the-art nursing lab built over at the college, where we received about just over $300,000 in bonding money. But we also need to make sure we're investing enough operating funds, because we still have some leaky roofs over there that we need to deal with too. So we have this large physical asset that we have to take care of, and obviously sometimes it's easier to say, well, we'll delay that 1 more year, 2 more years, because we don't want to disrupt this or that. But it's something that we really have to pay close attention to. The other piece, the external pressure that we feel, is from our accrediting body, the Higher Learning Commission. And this slide was done even before there was discussion about credentialing that's happening, that there's been some attention paid to lately by the Minnesota State Legislature. But in this case, both our Board of Trustees and our accrediting body, they in a sense expect us to earn a profit each year and to build reserves. And that becomes very difficult over time, but we're expected to do that. And profit is probably not the right word, but just to get an idea of we need to generate more revenue than expenses, and that's different than the way higher ed looked at things maybe 10 or 15 years ago. And we get measured on that every year by our accrediting body. If we fall under a certain threshold, we have to go through this whole process of showing a recovery plan. And we have 2 of our 5 colleges within the district that are in that situation. Rainy River is not one of them, though. So tuition and fees focus a little bit more on affordability. There's been a lot of emphasis on that. And the green line on the bottom is state colleges. The line above that are the state universities, Bemidji State being the closest one, International Falls, the University of Minnesota, and then the top being private colleges. And what this slide is what percentage is gross tuition and fees of a median income for a family of 4. And you'll see the privates over this 10-year period, it went from about 28% to 37%. The state colleges, we have gone from 5 to almost 6%, but we've been pretty flat. And one of the reasons that we've been flat is that the legislature has really stepped up and given us some funding to freeze our tuition. So we've had frozen tuition at our colleges. This will be our 3rd consecutive academic year that we have frozen tuition. And next year we'll actually roll back tuition 1% less than it is this year. So affordability has been a strong commitment by the state legislature in order to do that. Our enrollment across the district is one that we're really in a period where it's challenging. And so on the top here, this is NEHEAD as a total, all 5 of the colleges, and we're down 23%, and this is measured in what we call full year equivalent. So full year equivalent is we take all the credits that we have and we divide it by 30, and that comes up with a full year equivalent number. And we've seen some real dramatic changes. So as a district over this 6-year period, it's down 23%. Rainey is a little more stable as far as in comparison to the rest of the colleges. It's down 10%. All the other ones are 20% or more. So this is an environment where we really need each other, and we really need to start partnering more, and we need to make sure that we're still doing the things that we need to do for our students and for our communities. But we can't do business. That 1,100 drop in enrollment is well over $5 million in revenue. So I mentioned tuition was frozen or even rolling back. Well, we generate most of our money in tuition. So if your volume is going down and the rate you're charging is not going up or even going down, you have less money to operate with. So we really need to focus on how we turn that. And this isn't a sky is falling message at all. I have some ideas, but I haven't gotten them done in 4 months yet. So the appropriation tuition relationship, in higher ed, we give this statistic every presentation we give. You know, back before, 2/3 of our funding came from the state and 1/3 from students. So in 2002, that's what all the colleges and universities look like. This is a system-wide graph. We entered a period where we were raising tuition really high. Our enrollment was dropping because we had a recession or two here. So it went down, and it was almost 50-50 in 2010, and now it's starting to come back. So as a system, we're at about 54-46. Rainy River is at about 57 and 43, the mix between state appropriation and tuition. But the goal is to keep getting this number up so that tuition number can stay down and that we keep it affordable for students. So that's one of the challenges that we have. So what do we need to do? So there's a couple things that are really of interest to me. How do we thrive in this environment? And I really think we need to put our goals out there and talk about thriving and not just surviving. Surviving is one thing, and you know, you can't keep just cutting people, cutting how much you invest in your business, your college, whatever, and expect it to grow. It just doesn't make any sense. So we really need to look at some strategies on how we think about that going forward. One of them is that I'm really pushing is that we really need to figure out, okay, what size colleges do we have, and how do we build something so that we have some more flexibility? And that's much easier said than done. So flexibility, I mean having some resources available so that if a good idea comes up, we want to try a new program, we want to try do something else, we have a little bit of a cushion to be able to do that. So a lot of it is back to this enrollment slide. You know, as a district here, we were hoping our enrollment was going to be 4,000 or so. So we ended up, you know, down quite a bit than that. So then we're in fall semester scrambling to find ways to make sure our budget gets back in line, and we're not making the best decisions that we could if we were planning out ahead. So that's one of the things we really have to think about is what is 16, 17, 18, 19 going to look like, and how do we be conservative enough that we're delivering the services that we need and the instruction that we need, and making sure our students get what we need to deliver to them, but also have that flexibility to do different things to move the needle and get our enrollment to a higher number. We all know what our demographics are in this part of the state. So we know that continuing to chase the same students from Northwoods High School, if Rainy River's recruiting them and Virginia's recruiting them, that doesn't really do us any good as a district. We have to get in the metro area where the population is, or the St. Cloud metro area, Rochester corridor in our state, northern Wisconsin, other places that we haven't been before, but we have to pay to do that. We have to invest money to do that. So securing resources for growth, that is one of the big emphases that we need to look at, is we need to tell a compelling story. We can't just say, well, we need more money. We need to have a vision, and we need to sell that vision, and we need to let people invest in us, whether it's a state agency, it's a donor, it's a nonprofit. We need to tell a compelling story of this is what this type of money will mean to us, and here's where we're going to go from it. So we've been talking about how do we secure resources for growth, and we're starting to move a little more in that direction. We're starting to share marketing across our colleges a little differently. The marketing people have put together plans of what would it be like if we sell colleges up north, and we focus on some of the programs that we're the best at each of our colleges, or that are a little different than the rest, and we go out and we present ourselves in that manner, instead of just Rainy River presenting themselves, and then in 2 rows down at another college fair there's Mesabi Range and there's Itasca. How do we bring that all together? We need to put more of an emphasis on development, on fundraising, and Rainy River has a wonderful foundation and a long history of supporting its college. We need to do that across our whole district, and we need to have money not only for scholarships, and then I know Rainy River is in the forefront of our district with our foundation, but we also need to have money that helps for innovation, and it helps maybe send someone to a conference or to another college to see what's happening, or hire a consultant, or whatever it might be, but it might only cost $1,000 or $2,000, and we don't have enough in our budget to do that. So a little bit of money that if we could get privately to help us look at new ideas and explore will help with the enrollment number and the revenue number. The other area that I've heard a lot about is grant writing. Is we do not have a focused, as a district, a focus area of how we go out and secure funds. And that's critical. It's critical to find grants that fit with what you're doing. You can't just chase the money and get grants that aren't related to your mission, and then when the grant's done, well, you're done with the project. We'll never hear about it again. We have to find things like TRIO SSS, which we have a 30-plus year history in, things that we integrate into the operation, things that are important, and look at getting seed money to do that. The federal administration right now has been very supportive of 2-year colleges. From time to time, President Obama will be giving speeches from a 2-year college talking about affordability, talking about free community college. But we need to get a structure in place to find appropriately what resources might be there to help us and to get some of those things going. But again, it's all about vision and us telling a good story of how we're going to do that. And then the last one, which overcoming resistance to change and taking risks, that's can be foreign in higher education a lot. We still compete within the district. You can imagine there's 31 institutions within MnSCU, and then there's 5 colleges within the district. We have to find a way to thrive off our interdependence and not compete so much with one another, and compete on things that are silly to compete on, not students or resources, but even who does what service or who does things. We got to take that next step of partnering, and then that's where the district has come. And the colleges could be a lot more independent in 1999 than they can be in 2015, and I expect them to even be more interdependent in 2020 than they are now. My job is to make sure that we still go back and live to that mission of why this district is formed, that the International Falls community doesn't feel like they're missing something out at Rainy River. We still have a strong presence there, there's strong instruction, we have strong leadership, and we're engaged and we're active in the community. Those assets need to stay. But maybe there's some programs, there's some classes, there's other things that we need to share, because collectively we can find 20 to 25 students across 5 colleges, but individually we can't afford to do it 5 here, 7 here, 4 here. Sounds simple, but we have long histories of doing things ourselves, and we have varying degrees of support for systems across all of our colleges, and that's what we need to work towards. And there's been phenomenal progress that's been made. It now just needs to go to the next level. So now before I turn it over to Carol, I just want to end with one last thing, is that all of this macro stuff and everything else, it is really about student success. And that needs to be what we think about at all times. It isn't about necessarily different views of which staff wants to do this or which faculty member wants to do this. We have to look at things from our constituents' eyes, and that's primarily our students. It's also our community, and we need to base our decisions on that. And that's always one of the challenges we have in higher ed sometimes, is we start looking internal too much, and sometimes we forget a little bit why we're there. Is that it's for the students, it's for our client, it's for the business we're working with. It's not about us and who between Rainy River and this college gets to do this. It's about what the outcome is. So I'm going to turn this over to Carol, and we'll hear. I think we'll hear from a couple of our wonderful students at Rainy River.
Thank you, Bill. I do want to reiterate what a privilege it is for me to be provost of Rainy River Community College and also be a part of the community. Even if it's part-time, I feel like I'm a part of the community, and I appreciate the enthusiasm that this community has for the college and also its vision for the institution. Last year I mentioned to you that the college has changed its tagline, and now it's the Rainy Experience, where life and learning meet, and we live that experience each and every day with our students. So I thought it would be good for you to hear from some of our students about their Rainy experience. So I have with us today Janessa Casaretto, who is the president of the Student Senate, and Austin Schaff, who's the Northeast Regional Representative of the Minnesota State College Student Association. So if you don't mind, come up and share a few words about your Rainy experience. We'll begin with Janessa.
Hi everyone, I'm Janessa Casaretto, and I'm a student at Rainy River, also the Student Senate president at Rainy River. I graduated Falls High School in 2014, and I was off to a university. I attended classes, I participated in activities, and I just didn't feel like it was right, something wasn't there. I transferred home in spring of 2014, and I walked in the doors at Rainy River, and I instantly felt like this was my home, this is where I want to be. Everyone is so welcoming. It was like I never left town. I instantly met friends. It wasn't like, oh, this is a community college, why am I here? I was so happy to be in a small classroom where I could go to the teacher, ask for help whenever I wanted to. I wasn't blown off by meetings or anything else. At the university, I had to meet with the teacher 30 different times until I got her answer or something. To this day, it's still exactly the same. I walk in the doors and I'm welcomed. I feel like it's like home. I'm transferring this spring, or after spring, and I don't want to leave. I transferred, I came home, and now I don't want to leave. So I would say my Rainy experience has been out of this world, and I honestly wish I never would have transferred and I started at Rainy River to begin with.
For me, the Rainy experience has been a passage into a new day, a guiding light into the often overcumbering passage that is adulthood. And through the Rainy experience, it has built up my social capital, it has made me find my passion for business, and the staff and faculty has been there to help me out every step along the way. So my name's Austin Schaff, and I can definitely vouch for the Rainy experience.
Thank you. Well, I've mentioned to several people that when I drive up from the Iron Range and I see the sign that says Koochiching County, I grab a hold of my steering wheel and I say, here we go, Carol, hold on. Because there's so much going on, not only at the college, but also within the community. But I want to share with you some of the vision, mission, guiding principles of the institution as we revisit who we are and what we've done. And I must remind myself from time to time who we are. And I go back to the history of the institution, which is rich. It was established in 1967, and so we've been delivering liberal arts and career and technical education for 48 years. But it started, as I mentioned to you last year, in 1963 with a vision of the Rainy Lake Women's Club and its chairperson, Lillian Shaw, who had a dream. And they had a dream of a college in International Falls. And they made that dream become a reality. In 1966, I think there were 16 rooms added to the west side of the Falls High School. And then in November 23rd of 1967, there was groundbreaking for the institution on donated land. And in fact, I have a picture in my office of Bronco Nagurski and Lillian Shaw in their winter coats and winter boots breaking ground for that institution. I'm also privileged to say that our first president, Wally Simpson, is with us today. May we recognize him, please? And also I have beautiful drawings from former President Ray Berg in my office, and his energy fuels mine. And I heard that his daughter was the first and only graduate in the 1968 class. I think her name was Diane Berg, and so that history stays with us. But I remind myself of where we came from and then build upon that as I think of the mission of this institution, which has been timeless. It serves its communities by guiding learners to achieve their educational, career, personal, and civic goals. And as a result, the college, we say, leads the way in education. We are learner-centered. We evaluate and improve each and every day what we do. We examine our practices. We promote academic excellence. We value diversity. And we embrace shared leadership and stewardship so that we share responsibility with students and the community to lead and manage the college and its resources. So these are the guiding principles that we keep near and dear to our hearts. Last year I mentioned to you that the college was going to be involved in a strategic planning process, and I needed the entire year to conduct research on where the college will go from this point forward. But I made that research very simple, and I went around to various entities, internal at the college and external, and asked one question. And the question was this: what is your hope and dream for Rainy River Community College now and into the future? And it was interesting, as I compiled the answers to those questions, it drove really the 5 core themes that we have for our strategic plan. And so our themes are these. We have expand student enrollment, retention, and completion, inspire teaching and learning excellence, embrace diversity and advance equity, champion innovation, and our 5th one is build community. And so at the college, we have those core theme teams, and we meet regularly and develop initiatives and projects around those themes to advance the cause and mission of the institution. I lead core theme 5, which is build community, and we talk about the various areas where we think we can do that, not only within the college, but outside the college as well. So we've discussed these areas. We talk about the admission and registration process, a new student orientation process. We review our housing and student life experience, our teaching and learning experience, our college services and our resources and activities, and also our college-sponsored events. And we also then expand as we think of these initiatives, which involves our community at large, our regional community. And so we've become actively involved in the Voyage Forward initiative, attending the diversity driver meetings. And in fact, I think President Mackey, when I cannot attend, President Mackey attends those meetings. And we realize the crucial role that the college plays. It was interesting to see the research from the Newmark Group. And what it said was the college is a gem of a community, and it will help build that needed workforce of trained, skilled workers in your area, and build the educated workforce as well. And so we take that to heart, and that's part of our mission and vision this year. You've probably noticed in the newspaper, in the journal, the healthcare initiative that we're now embarked upon, and I will share that shortly with you and where we're going with that. I'm so grateful to the College Foundation and its members and those who volunteer their time and energy and effort and resources because they believe in what we do and they believe in our students, because they have heard student stories such as these, where the college has made a difference in students' lives. And the college gives them an opportunity to find themselves. And those of you who've attended college know that quite often that's where we find who we are and what we want to do and the direction we want to go in life. And so our foundation recognizes that and supports our students to the tune of over a $2 million endowment. They have 150 available scholarships. They award over $100,000 each year to our students. And 150 businesses and organizations and individuals contribute to the foundation. And when I hear those statistics, I think truly the Rainy Lake Women's Club and Lillian Shaw's vision became a reality far beyond what they had expected. So I'm very grateful for the College Foundation. Also last year, as you know, the aquaponics project launched very quickly, and that was a result of the collaboration with the college and business and industry and also the councils. We work very closely with our independent school districts in the county, and we deliver concurrent enrollment programs in the high school. We also deliver our Applied Learning Institute, which are college credit classes for those students who are eligible. We are very connected with our Workforce Center. In fact, we're grateful the Workforce Center is on our campus. And so when there are dislocated workers, we immediately work with the Workforce Center and say, what can we do to provide the training and education these people need? And again, we're extremely connected with our business community. That's why President Mackey and I are very privileged to be here today to be able to share with you what is occurring at our college. When I asked the question to the community, what is your hopes and dreams for Rainy River Community College? Here was one of the responses that I received in an email. My hope and dream is that Rainy River can sustain and grow its programming so that it is attractive and beneficial to students and area residents, potential students as well, as area businesses and communities, that its programming includes both usable trades as well as programming that prepares those who wish to go on further, their education at a higher level. My particular interest, based on my profession and the growing need for workers, is in healthcare careers. I would also hope that Rainy increases its ability to use technology so that people could attend classes at Rainy and elsewhere to get the programming they want. And I took this to heart. Mesabi Range College delivers through telepresence to Rainy River Community College the human services and chemical dependency programs. So there's one example of how we met the need of this particular individual who said we need this in the area. But also it's in the area of healthcare. And so I realized that, and I wanted to do some research on what are the healthcare needs in this area, which led me to discover that there are many openings, at least 25 right now, unfilled openings in healthcare, particularly in the practical nursing and registered nursing fields. So as a result, I was invited to the KEDA meetings, and I was very grateful for that opportunity to share the story. And the question was asked, what are you looking for? You know, what is the need out there? As you know, the college has a nursing program. It's delivered through Itasca Community College. And our program through Itasca Community College is online. And I've heard the compelling story from students saying, we went into nursing because we like people and we like working with people. And though the online venue is there and we're grateful for it, we would certainly like to have faculty and certainly a director in front of us working with us. So that's one of the needs that we have heard. We are now in a lovely $311,000 renovated nursing lab, and I would bring you pictures of it, but I want you to come to our open house, which will be December 9th. And it will be also during the time we're going to be conducting a healthcare forum. KEDA and the college are going to sponsor the healthcare forum. It will begin at 3 o'clock in the afternoon of December 9th. And talk further with healthcare providers, legislators, community members, college constituencies, saying, what is it? What can the college do in working with economic development in the area of healthcare? Because you know what? Healthcare touches each and every one of us. It affects us all. And we want to make sure that we are a region that delivers quality healthcare, as we are now. But we also want to meet those needs that are there. So that's a big initiative that we have going on right now at the college and also with KEDA and other economic drivers. So that's our presentation, and we thank you for the opportunity to present today. President Mackey, do you have anything further to say?
Was there any questions? We went a minute 45 over. Are there any questions?
That's about mature learners, but is there room in your expansion to define the older learner?
The adult learner you're referring to? Certainly, that's another area of growth for the college, and I don't think we paid as much attention to it as we should. So I appreciate that comment, and yes, I think that's what we need to include in our strategic plan. Thank you for that.
Mr. Mackey, is there any thought of ever expanding NEHEAD? And I'm thinking towards the Bemidji area with Bemidji State and the Northwest Technical College that's there. And would there any possibility of having some of their resources coming this way?
Can you shut the tape recorder off? You know, there really hasn't been any discussion at the institutional level of combining more institutions, and I personally find that surprising. I was in Bemidji when Bemidji State and Northwest Technical College combined in 2004. And I think many of us thought that this was going to start happening more in rural areas, but it really hasn't happened much since then. So I don't know. The way we've been trying to approach it is more at the programmatic level. So Advanced Minnesota as an example. We would love to pull in other colleges as part of that and have everybody, thinking differently across the whole north part of the state instead of just the northeast part of the state. But I think what you're asking, Mayor, that's more of a board of trustees type action, and I'd probably get in trouble if I commented too much on it.
I've got a great deal of experience in Bemidji, and certainly I think there's some value there.
Yeah, I think we're going to see more of the higher ed institutions having to work together. I think that what form it's going to be in will be interesting because there's strong voices from the communities, there's strong voices internally from our faculty and our staff to preserve your own autonomy in the current structure that you have.
Thank you.
Well, thank you again for having us here, and if there's any other questions or information that you need, please feel free to reach out. Thank you.